Coming up on KCCI 8 News Close Up, early voting is now underway. The choices voters make in the coming weeks will shape the direction of communities across central Iowa.
City Council decides more of your life than you think.
From city councils to school boards, voters will decide who leads and how hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars will be spent.
These races are becoming more and more important.
This morning, what's at stake, who's on the ballot, and why your community's future starts with your vote.
This is Iowa's news leader. This is KCCI 8 News Close Up.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us for KCCI 8 News Close Up. I'm Chief Political Reporter Amanda Rooker. Well, early voting is already underway across Iowa for this year's City Council and School Board elections, giving Iowans a head start before polls officially open on November 4th. Now, voter turnout is typically lower for local elections like this one, but Polk County Auditor Jamie Fitzgerald says voters should be paying attention.
City Council decides more of your life than you think. They do your city ordinances. They also sign all the contracts. They do, in Des Moines, a lot of road construction. They decide the projects. They decide how your money's being spent. They also decide your tax rate. So these are extremely important positions, along with school board. School board decides a lot of what your superintendent's allowed to do and not do. We're seeing a lot more of state law changing. So these races are becoming more and more important.
Now, there are some key deadlines to keep in mind before Election Day. Here's what you need to know to make sure your vote counts.
Local elections may fly under the radar, but the outcome will shape every neighborhood. The people voted in will decide school funding, city budgets, road repairs, and public safety. Early voting is already open for the 2025 City Council and School Board elections. Voters in Polk County can head to the new election office on Euclid Avenue in Des Moines. In Dallas County, the auditor's office in Adel serves as the early voting location. Both are open weekdays from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Now, if you'd rather vote from home, you can still request an absentee ballot, but time is running out. The deadline to request one is Monday, October 20th at 5 p.m. You can print a request form from the Iowa Secretary of State's website and return it to your county auditor. When you fill it out, you'll need your Iowa residential address and voter ID number. That's your driver's license or non-operator ID number, or the voter PIN on your voter ID card. Once your ballot arrives, you can return it by mail, deliver it to your county auditor's office, or drop it off in an official ballot drop box. But the county auditor has to have it by 8 p.m. on election night for your ballot to be counted. If you still have your absentee ballot on Election Day, you can take it to your county auditor before the polls close, or you can surrender it at your polling place and vote normally. Ballots can't be dropped off at polling places. If you're planning to vote in person, Election Day is Tuesday, November 4th. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., and you can find your polling location by entering your address on the Secretary of State's website. That's sos.iowa.gov. If you need to register to vote, there's still time. Pre-registration ends Monday, but Iowa law does allow same-day registration on Election Day. That means when you go to vote, you'll need to bring proof of identity and residency, like a paycheck, lease, or utility bill. To register, you must be a U.S. citizen, an Iowa resident, and at least 18 years old on or before Election Day. You also can't be judged mentally incompetent to vote by a court or claim the right to vote anywhere else. You can double-check your registration or track your absentee ballot anytime on the Secretary of State's website. If you want to know who's running and what measures you'll be voting on before you head to the polls, there are sample ballots and a full list of candidates posted on your county auditor's website. Whether you vote early, absentee, or in person on November 4th, election officials say the most important step is to make a plan to make sure your voice is heard.
And Des Moines City Council has 3 seats on the ballot this year. There's one at-large seat that's held by Mike Simonson. He's running for re-election against Indy Montalvo Martinez. Incumbent Josh Mandelbaum is running unopposed for re-election to the Ward 3 seat. And there are 3 candidates running for the Ward 1 seat after Chris Coleman announced he's not seeking re-election. That's Rob Barron, Cece Ibsen, and Dudley Mohammed. The Des Moines Ward 1 seat includes the Beaverdale, Merle Hay, and Riverbend neighborhoods. I sat down with all 3 candidates to talk about why they want to serve on City Council.
It was always City Council. That was the one thing I really wanted to do.
After decades in neighborhood leadership, Cece Ibsen says now's her time to run for City Council. She says she made the decision after a conversation with her son.
And he said, but you know, I want to buy a house. I want to raise a family. And I thought, you know what, those were things I was able to do when I was his age. And I've got one shot to do everything within my power to make those opportunities available, not just for my kids, but for your viewers' children and their children.
Ibsen says voters' top concerns are about affordable housing, public schools, and transparency. She says she's ready to meet those needs.
I will work as hard as I possibly can to listen to everybody and to solve problems like I've done throughout my family life and my career, with the end goal of getting everybody pretty much everything they need and a little bit of what they want. That's what people deserve.
Rob Barron
I really believe in the good that we can do in local government.
is also vying for the Ward 1 seat. His top priorities include housing, homelessness, water quality, and affordable child care.
I enjoy problem solving. I like serving people. I like dealing in the nuance of a pretty diverse community with a lot of different viewpoints and having the responsibility of representing those viewpoints in government.
The nonprofit director spent 8 years on the Des Moines School Board. He says he's running for city council to bring a new vision to local government.
This is going to be the 4th council member that Ward 1 has had in a little over 4 years. So having someone with the experience to be able to step in and do the job is very important. I would be the first Latino council member in the history of the city of Des Moines. That's an important perspective to have at the table.
Dudley Muhammad is also in the race.
The city council is the closest government to the people, and that's where I want to be at.
He says housing and homelessness are his top issues, along with school safety, water quality, and child care.
There's some underlying issues that we really need to address with the homeless that help qualify them to be able to have some of the homes that will become available. So I want to be able to do that, and I believe I'm qualified to do that.
Muhammad says he's tackled the city's challenges for years as a community advocate. Now he wants a seat at the decision-making table.
I want to be able to go out and reflect the voices of the individuals that are in my ward at the city council. I don't want to be combative, I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but I do want to be there to be a voice for the people who I represent.
I also sat down with both candidates running for the at-large Des Moines City Council seat. Incumbent Mike Simonson is running for re-election against his challenger Indy Montalvo Martinez, and both bring different experiences and approaches to leadership.
It started a year and a half ago when there was a special election.
Mike Simonson won the at-large seat on Des Moines City Council in 2024. It opened when Connie Boesen was elected mayor. Since then, Simonson says he's helped tackle issues like homelessness and housing affordability. He says accessibility sets him apart.
I am available. The only phone number that's published for me is my cell phone. Just helping constituents. It's their home, we're neighbors, and that's what I like about City Council. We are the closest to the people.
Simonson says he wants to continue his work on housing and improve transportation in public schools, leaning on his background in architecture.
As an architect, we're problem solvers. I've been licensed in 22 states. That means I've practiced in 22 states. I've seen what other communities are doing.
He says he's made the council his full-time job and has coordinated nonprofits and county officials to support the homeless. One example:
if people had ever been in prison, and most of the homeless have not, but if they have, they can expunge their records if they've paid their dues. Those records impact employment, they impact housing, and can there just be one more step to help those folks get back on their feet?
Simonson faces challenger Indy Montalvo Martinez.
I believe that our city deserves a new perspective.
Who launched a campaign after the city council approved an ordinance last year that bans camping and sleeping in public spaces.
I want to live in a city that jumps at the opportunity to help people in need, not jump at the opportunity to criminalize them. That's kind of what's motivated me to pursue running for city council.
Montalvo Martinez graduated from East High School in 2021 and says his work on improving safety and healthcare would translate well to public service.
I helped lead the student campaign to kind of reimagine safety, which brought juvenile complaints from DMPS down by 90%. Now I currently work as a community health worker, and so I see firsthand the need in our community regarding food access, healthcare access, and I also work in suicide prevention.
He says he'd bring a new approach to city government.
And I feel like that's what's missing in our city council. young, fresh perspectives that have direct experience in the community, that listen to the people experiencing these problems and can use that experience to directly impact policy and create positive change.
To come on Close Up, the Des Moines School Board has been in the national spotlight in recent weeks. We'll meet the candidates hoping to lead the district after former Superintendent Ian Roberts' shocking arrest. And a big bond referendum is on the ballot. What's at stake for Des Moines residents surrounding the school district's $265 million Reimagining Education Plan. Welcome back to Close Up. After the Des Moines School District's former superintendent was arrested by federal immigration authorities who say he was in the country illegally and is now facing federal gun charges, many families are asking who they can trust to lead the district. That's one of the biggest questions facing Des Moines voters this election as they choose new school board members. There are 3 people running for 2 at-large board positions: Maria Alonso, Marcus Kanan, and Sarah Hopkins.
I believe in public education. I believe in kids.
Maria Alonso has served on the school board for the past 4 years. She says she's running for re-election to continue elevating the voices of students and families.
Children should be able to see themselves everywhere in our district. As a teacher, administrator, superintendent's cabinet, at the board table.
Alonso says her priorities center on improving student outcomes, family engagement, and accountability.
I think that we have to lead with a lot of integrity. I think that we have to lead with a lot of transparency.
She served on the board during the arrest of former Des Moines Superintendent Ian Roberts. She says restoring trust will take intentional change.
Just because somebody tells you something, you can't just believe. In our position, we have to be able to verify. And that definitely is something that I personally would do differently.
Marcus Kanan is also running for an at-large position, bringing experience on neighborhood boards and a desire to serve the district where his daughters will grow up.
There are always the continuous goals of improving reading and writing scores, and math scores. Really focusing on those because those are the foundation for education, but also just, the continued vision of making really high quality education system for the whole 30,000 students that DMPS really supports.
The newly elected school board will be in charge of selecting a new superintendent. Kanan says that process needs to be thorough and transparent.
I'd want to make sure that, one, we do have an open process with those finalists so that the community has an opportunity to give feedback and meet the candidates. 2, I'd want to make sure that we we dig in and say, ask tough questions. Just make sure that we're doing our due diligence and asking tough questions.
Transparency and accountability are also top priorities for school board candidate Sarah Hopkins.
I think the school board has a big job at hand to build trust again with the community, and I think the first thing that we need to do is start by listening. We've got to listen to the students, we've got to listen to the parents, we've got to listen to the teachers, and then we've got to show them that what they're saying we are taking seriously.
She says her experience as a mom, realtor, and lifelong Des Moines resident gives her a unique perspective on the connection between schools and community growth.
I think our city's success depends on the success of our schools. We have to get our schools to a place that people want to be here.
To get there, she says Des Moines needs to compete with suburban districts and charter schools to keep students. She says that starts with making sure students have the resources to succeed.
I think as soon as we can start understanding that our children deserve these nice things, they deserve to have a top-of-the-line education, top-of-the-line facilities, I think people will start to want to be in the district. And we also, it's those essential skills as well. There are so many schools that are doing that right now within our district. We just need to make sure that everybody understands that.
Now, several communities are weighing bond referendums this November. We'll break down the big one in Des Moines that could drastically reshape education in the state's largest school district. Welcome back to Close Up. We are about 2 weeks away from the November 4th election. Voters across the state will elect new city council members, mayors, and school board members. They'll also vote on public measures like Des Moines' Reimagining Education Plan. Des Moines Public Schools is asking voters to approve a $265 million bond issue. The money would be spent on improvements to career and technical training programs, modernizing facilities, building new ones, and expanded access to preschool. If passed, the average household would pay about $200 more each year. That money would be spent over the next 5 years. Now, the proposal comes at a time when many taxpayers are questioning their trust in the district after former Superintendent Ian Roberts' arrest. Some voiced concerns at a town hall meeting earlier this month.
That's why we have a major issue with trust right there. And it's all because of the board and how they responded to it.
Is there a way to take this off of the ballot for now? Is there a way to give another year and go back to say, this is why we should do this? Do some things to build trust.
We haven't had the type of leadership that we've needed. I don't know how to make it better. I don't. I just want you to know, and I want the community to know, that I share a lot of the feelings that he has as an employee.
District officials are asking voters to separate the bond issue from Robert's arrest. They say the stakes around this are high. If the bond issue fails, the interim superintendent told me they'll have to make significant staffing cuts and close several buildings. District leaders say students, businesses, teachers, and taxpayers are the ones who put together this plan aimed at keeping families in the district with more modern schools and stronger opportunities for students.
We've been kicking the can down the road and kicking the can down the road. Folks, we can't kick it anymore. Okay? Our community is in trouble if Des Moines Public Schools does not thrive.
Now, Des Moines isn't the only district asking voters for millions. There are 4 others in the metro asking for investments in their schools this November. In Ankeny, a $130 million school bond referendum would adjust the district's grade level structure. It would also expand academics programs, extracurricular, and sports facilities. In West Des Moines, a $135 million bond issue would cover a new student activities facility near Valley Stadium, plus upgrades to the Performing Arts Center and Indian Hills Junior High. In Southeast Polk, a $51 million bond issue will help address the needs of the growing district. The money would go towards building a new elementary school and upgrades to playgrounds and the junior high. For Dallas Center Grimes, an $88 million bond issue would fund a 7-year, 4-phase master plan that includes improvements to facilities, adding inclusive playgrounds, and making buildings more secure. You can find more information on these bond issues along with a guide on all our city and school board candidates on kcci.com. Now, I'm joined today by Suzanne Banky, KCCI's chief investigative reporter. Thanks for being with us because you have looked into all of these bond referendums so heavily.
Trying to, at least.
One thing I want to ask you, Suzanne, that I think as I've talked to different school leaders about some of these bond referendums, they've said that choice is at an all-time high right now for parents. You know, it used to be you go to the school district that you live in, but now with open enrollment, with charter schools popping up, with, you know, ESAs allowing people to leave for private schools, these schools are in a place that they have to really compete to keep students and keep funding. You know, how much does that play into some of these bond referendums?
I don't know that leaders have said that directly, but there is certainly more of an awareness that you can't sit back. And I don't think educators want to sit back and have facilities that are out of date for students. So I think districts are realizing that they are wanting to provide a 21st century education. In terms of Southeast Polk, Dallas Center, Grimes, those are both really big, growing districts. And so I think these bond issues aren't necessarily about trying to stand out to other parents, but really trying to meet the needs of where their population is growing.
For the other ones, is there anything that stands out to you that you think voters need to know or be paying attention to?
Well, one of the things that I've been looking into and hope to report on is how some of these bond issues include a lot of commitments to facilities, right? Like the West Des Moines one includes of the $135 million that's going before voters, $35 million of that is targeted for that extracurricular activities facility. And so just looking to spotlight why that is and what benefit, there are benefits obviously for students to have access to those kinds of facilities, but how does that really play into the overall goals of education in the state?
How do taxpayers balance all of this?
I think you have to ask, well, first of all, some people think that they don't have skin in the game because they may not have kids in the district. But if you live in that school district, you do have skin in the game. If you're a homeowner, property owner, landowner, business owner, with those bond issues and any extra taxes or things coming up with that. So it's worth your while to pay attention. You know, if you're a business owner, having strong schools is an attractive quality for people to come in, new employees to come in. People want strong schools when they come in for a job as well. That's one of the first things I hear from business leaders that prospective employees ask about. So I think that's really important to understand. And I also think, you know, people need to know the investment is for the future. It may not feel like you're going to see a payoff on it in a year, but it's, for some of these growing districts, it's really trying to meet the needs of the students. Des Moines Public Schools is in a little bit of a different situation where they are really trying to revamp, restructure, reimagine education for students in that district.
We only have about a minute left, but
Okay.
I know you're really excited to
I
tell
am.
viewers about what's on the ballot in Dallas County when
Yes.
it comes to their judicial building.
So the criminal court building is not going to replace the courthouse, which I think is one of the biggest things that misconceptions I've heard out there. In addition to the historic courthouse in downtown Adel, the ballot referendum is for a $60.3 million bond that would support the building of an additional court justice judicial building out by the sheriff's office on Highway 6. 84,000 square feet, adding 2 courtrooms. The county has seen a 40% increase in the number of cases that they are taking in. So this really would work to add more capacity for a courthouse that was built in 1902 for $109,000 back then. This came before voters in 2024. 51% of voters said no. So now, can they overcome that to get to that 60% needed majority for a yes?
Right, and that's a big, 60% is a lot.
It is. It is.
Well, Suzanne, that is all the time we have. However, there's a lot of details on this, so we have more information on our website, kcci.com. You can go there to find more information. KCCI 8 News Close-Up. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Thank you for joining us for KCCI 8 News Close-Up. We'll see you back here next Sunday. Have a great day.